Welcome to the pre-algebra practice test, and you might start to freak out that there are a bunch of problems, nearly 50, right? But hang on, I'm not going to ask you to do 100% of these. However, I think you could and you should maybe even challenge yourself to try all of them. So here's what I'm going to do. As you know, I try to make videos explaining how these things are done. So this is that video. I'm going to try and chop it up into 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 videos. And you might be thinking, holy cow. But that way, if you're like, you know what, I'm going to try and do just maybe, one section at a time. Cool. Then that can be there for you. Okay. That's enough explanation. Here we go. Notice it says use the order of operations, PEMDAS. And as I've said in other videos and other times in class, this thing, this thing is equally as important because this is parentheses, exponents, division, multiplication, subtraction, adding. Well, that's weird. Remember, these two are pretty much equal partners. And if you have multiplication and division on one line, go left or right. Same thing with addition and subtraction. If you have addition and subtraction on one line, go left or right. And that's why I've kind of written this thing so that you can go, oh, look. I mean, I guess if the teacher's writing it, maybe they're not crazy. I'm not crazy, okay? Just go left or right with those. All right, back over here. We have parentheses that we can't simplify, but we have exponents. This is going to be -4 times -4, which is 16. Number 2, this negative is technically not being used by that exponent. In fact, probably be better to write it like this, right? But they don't always do that, and especially if you ever use a calculator, if you were to type this, if you were to use a calculator, you type it like this, the calculator will probably not interpret it like that. So anyway, this is how you should interpret it, which is -6 times 6, or -36. Okay, we have multiply, and we're just going to go left to right, okay? So -5 times 3, -15. -15 times -2 is +30. This whole thing right here is times 0, so it's 0. This is left to right multiplying. -5 times 7 is +35 times -20. If you have a little bit of trouble multiplying some of these things, try and think maybe a little bit differently. What I mean is, what I'm going to do is 35 times 10, but you could also do 35 times 2. And then watch this. So this is 350. Now I just need to multiply that by -2. Well, why? Well, because if you were to do 10 times -2, you get -20, right? So how about up here? This is 70, and then I need to multiply it by -10. I think you see that either way you get -700. 5 minus 8 squared. 5 minus 8 times 8. 5 minus 64 equals -59. -5 squared, that's -5 times 5 times 4. Hey, look, these 5s are inside of these parentheses, and I can actually do that. Sometimes it's just like, hey, it's -4 inside the parentheses, and you can't do anything about that, right? But we can here. We have -25 times 4, and that is -100. Number 8. -2 times -3 times -3 times -3. Well, -3 times -3 is 9. And then we're going to multiply by -3 again, and we get that -2 is still out front. negative 27, and then 2 times 27 is 54, positive 54. 19. All right, now we're getting a little more complicated. 2 plus 1 times. Now, that dot is there, but it doesn't really have to be. So here's what I'm going to do. I know that inside of these parentheses, I can simplify that. Negative 7 plus 5 is negative 2. And then check it out. That was multiplying 1 times negative 2 is negative 2. Right? 1 times anything is that thing. And this equals 0 because I have $2. I give away $2. I have $0. Number 10, 4 minus negative 2 cubed. Okay. Resist the urge to do this. Why? Well, because we're not actually subtracting that right now. We need to follow the order of operations, which says do exponents first. So we have 4 minus negative 2 times negative 2 times negative 2. That's what that cube means, and especially the cube when it's got that whole thing in parentheses right there, okay? 4, so here we go. These two together are positive 4, but then what about that negative 2? There we go. 4 minus, now this becomes negative 8. Okay, remember that earlier when I said resist the urge to do this? It was because we hadn't done the exponent yet. But now we have. So you can now officially do that and get 12. Why is it that you're doing this? Remember, if I am removing negative things, then I'm generally going to feel positive about that, right? It's going to be positive, okay? Number 11, 4 times 25 times, and that's 3 squared. So that's 3 times 3, which is 9. Okay, now another way that you can kind of do some of this bigger multiplication in your head is that dude is 1 away from 10, right? If I asked you to do 25 times 10, I think you would come up with 250 pretty easily, right? But then you need to subtract 25 to get back down to 9. And if that just went over your head, if you're thinking, I do not understand, then you need to just do 25 times 9. Okay? So now what we have is 4 times 225. Yippee! 4 times 225. Well, here, I'm going to erase some of this so I don't mess up our future mathing. Okay? And we will do 225 times 4 right here. 20 with a 2. 8, 10. This is 900. 900. 12. Okay, we're getting a little more complicated still. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to write PEMDAS over here to remind myself. I mean, for you, it's just right there, but I don't want to zoom in and out. So I got parentheses. Inside of these parentheses, I've actually got exponents. So here's what I'm going to do. Negative 4, 9 minus 8 plus 1. This is 9, okay? And now I'm going to keep that negative 4 blue because I can do 9 minus 8 to get 1. I'm going to keep this plus 1 blue because we didn't do anything with it. But now negative 4 times 1 is negative 4. Plus 1 is negative 3. All right, 13. Let's write PEMDAS again. We have no parentheses. We have no exponents. We have no multiplying. We have dividing. So let's do that first. Negative 14 divided by 2 is negative 7. And now all we've got left is adding and subtracting. We're just going to go left or right. Negative 8 minus 7 is negative 15. You add 5 to that, you get negative 10. Let's write PEMDAS again, just to help have that visual reminder. No parentheses, no exponents. We have multiplying and dividing. Here's dividing, here's multiplying. So let's do them dividing first. 24, because we're going left to right, yeah, left to right. 24 divided by negative 4 is negative 6 plus negative 2 times negative 5. Negative 6 doesn't change, but negative 2 times negative 5 is positive 10. So negative 6 plus 10 is 4. So like I said, I'm going to try and do these in different sections. Let's be honest, it took me like 1 or 2 minutes to just explain what I was going to do. And now the video is 11 minutes long. So 14 questions, 9 minutes. I realize I'm the math teacher, so that goes quickly, but I was also explaining every step. So I just want you to kind of feel like, okay, if you really buckle down, you can do this, and it won't take you 50 years, all right? See you in the next video.